What is up, you guys? I'm absolutely effing knackered today. I've taken on a 0-16 game against a player rated 578, Miris1234 from Israel. Okay, and let's do something kind of unusual. I'm going to play King's Pawn Thingy. I'm going to play the Scotch. Okay, because I haven't played it in a while and I want to get into... I don't want to get an advantage based on theory. Okay, so now... mainline Scotch, knight takes here. And because this is a 20-minute game, so I've got some time to explain stuff. Okay, we can go Scotch Gambit as well. Scotch Gambit is really strong. And there's also this move C3 now, which I like. Let's play Scotch Gambit and see what happens. So I've given up a pawn, but in return I have an accelerated development. I've got pawn out and two pieces. And I'm ready to castle. Opponent is at least 3 moves away from castle. Yeah, just shocking night's sleep. I had a kitten coming and jumping on my head. And a dog decided to wander in and take a leak on the floor. All right, interesting times. Okay, now. So here's what I see from this move. It's kind of principled. My opponent is doing the right thing in a way, but this pawn is defended only once and it is attacked twice. That doesn't work. So I have options. I could take here with the bishop targeting f7. I could also take with the pawn, and taking with the pawn also comes with the immediate threat against the knight, because I'm then hitting the knight with a piece of lower value, which means that trading that knight just isn't really an option. In fact, there and bishop takes is not fantastic either, because my opponent will then get doubled isolated c-pawns and an isolated a-pawn. But pawn takes here, so with free pawn I get to recover my pawn for free, and it comes with tempo. So what do we mean by tempo? Tempo means, it's the Italian word for time. It means that I get a time advantage because my opponent has to spend move 5 moving the knight somewhere else. And then we say, well, where's he going to move the knight to? He can't move it there, his own pawn's in the way. He can't move it there because my knight will capture it, okay? So he's either going to have to go here or here, right? Or back here or back here. Out of those, the most likely is probably a5 because it attacks the bishop. So the question is, do we want to do that? Right? So what you have to say is, look, if bishop takes, I'm not really attacking the knight. If pawn takes, I am attacking the knight, and the knight will move here, which is a worse square for the knight, but then my bishop is under attack, and I like that bishop. So I'm going to take with the bishop. Right? I hope that makes sense. I've painted the two scenarios. Right? If pawn takes, I've got a fully open e-file then, but I'm then attacking the knight. But attacking the knight per se is not the goal. Right? The point is, if I do this, what is opponent going to do, and does it benefit me or does it benefit them? And quite honestly, if I take that and knight goes here, hits my bishop, I don't want to lose my... Then what am I going to do? Am I going to drop here? He might still take. Which again isn't the end of the world. You know, I also have another hanging pawn there. So let's play it through. Let's go a level deeper, right? I go there, he goes here. I could drop it back to here. I can't go anywhere on this diagonal because my pawn's in the way. So I'm going to take with the bishop. Right, I've burned 4 minutes nearly so. I've now recovered my pawn. I have 2 attackers on the d4 pawn. I'm also ready to castle. And he's moved his developed piece another time. Now, okay, again, another very instructive position. So, some people will go, I want to keep my bishop, therefore my bishop's under attack, therefore I must move my bishop. Okay, that's logical, right? But it's not very good logic. The bishop is under attack twice and defended only once. Therefore, opponent could take... I recapture with a pawn. Oh no, I've lost the pawn. Therefore, I must move my bishop. Okay, that's the next level. A further level could be to say, well, My bishop's in the board. Opponent has now moved this knight once, twice. Looking at moving it a third time. Why not grab this pawn, right, with the queen, attacking the knight and adding another defender to the bishop, right? That seems perfectly reasonable, but there's a problem. What do you see with this, right? Try and visualize it. Queen takes there, right? If opponent takes the bishop, no problem, we recapture the pawn or the queen, it's fine, right? But if this, knight takes c2, and we have ourselves what is known as a family fork. King, queen, rook, all forked on the c2 square. So that's no good. That is no good. So now what am I going to do? Okay, I think one option is definitely just drop the bishop back. The bishop's still staring at f7, which is a good place for it to be looking. Is there any other good way of defending the bishop? Well, c4 might defend the bishop. Then the opponent does have the option of d takes c3 en passant, right, which they can only do from the fourth rank from your side, right? If you have a pawn and you're moving it 2 squares on its first move, if the opponent could have taken it on its way past square number 1, they are still allowed to. Now let's play it through again, right? I do this, captures en passant. I take with my knight. Knight defends the bishop a second time, and I've developed a piece. So let's do that. Okay, now this depends on my opponent understanding the en passant rule. But if they've got, for example, show legal moves switched on. Oh, okay. Right, so now here, black has opted to capture the bishop with the knight. So this knight is now moved once, twice, 3 times. So my first thought is let's retake with this pawn. Centralizing the pawn, it means I have 2 pawns in the center, black only has 1. I'm not worried about the queen coming out with check, because the the c pawn hasn't moved, so there's no check on there. Even if there was, I can block quite easily. Okay, opponent has now played knight out here, targeting the e4 pawn. And again, the beginner idea would be, oh no, my pawn, it's under attack, I must defend it. So I'll do it with this, or put my queen on e2, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Right? You're lining up a major piece against your opponent's king, that's one thing. But there are always other options, right? Bishop g5 pins the knight against the queen. Knight takes the pawn, it's good knight queen, right? And it comes with development. So when you're in the opening phase of the game, you should always be thinking develop, develop, develop. Right, another option could be, for example, castles. Let him have the pawn. Then put my rook here on e1, pinning the knight. But then, for example, queen can take that pawn and defend the knight, or even f5 can be played. So I don't really like that idea either. Another option is to push e5, take the pawn out of harm's way and hit the knight with tempo again. So we've got this central pawn advantage. I am tempted to play that. I also like queen e2, which doesn't preclude this move. It gets the queen off of the back rank. Let's do that move. It just feels good. Pushing this pawn undefends this pawn as well. So it's a positional weakening for me. So I have to have good justification to push this pawn, because it undefends this, which is, by the way, under attack. So if I push that, knight's going to move somewhere. Okay. And this is a blunder. I hope you see why this is a blunder. Black has now just moved the bishop to a square where that is under attack from a pawn. What's more, it's not only under attack, but I can take the bishop for free because there's nothing else defending that square, f5, that the bishop is on. Even worse, taking the bishop comes with a discovered check by the queen. So now opponent is a piece down. Now, and they're in check. They're down a full piece. However, this pawn is now undefended because this pawn has vacated the e4 square. So in theory, queen or knight, not on the next move, because check is the ultimate forcing move. Opponent has to get out of check. Right? Queen or knight could capture this pawn, but I still have good compensation. Also, this pawn's still undefended. But on the very next move, opponent has to get out of check. Now, knight blocks is not an option because queen takes knight is check again. Queen takes, and I would be inclined to trade queens. The reason being, I'm up a full piece. And when you're up material, equal trades are good. Queen blocks, though, blocks in the bishop, which is pretty cool. So the other thing I'll be looking at is, well, can I kind of defend my queen with something other than my king in order to castle? Let's say queen here. I might consider, for example, knight takes d4, because the knight is then defending the queen backwards. That then allows my king to get castle, get my rook onto e1, and redress my attentions to black's king. So first blunder, I think. Yes, I have a slight crack in the edge of my coffee cup, which is causing me to dribble. Either that or I'm more tired than I thought I was. In other news, we now have Kitten Fight Club going on in the office. I have previously had the two older kittens with me in here, but yesterday Morgan decided that it was time for her 6 kittens to come down from the upstairs bedroom where they were staying, and now they're in the office here with me. So if you can hear little squeaks and beeps and stuff like that, don't worry about it, because it's all good. So we've got 5 black, 1 white little kittens. I don't know if you can see them bouncing around in the corner, but they've got a pile of junk to play on there. That's a whole load of like bushcraft stuff and kind of festival stuff that we're just storing in here for now. So one of my other things is teaching bushcraft as well. Question is, has the opponent abandoned the game? Are you still there? Making a YouTube video. Hope he hasn't abandoned. That would be rotten. As it's been a very instructive game so far. And it's also a very good opportunity to win 16 rating points for no risk whatsoever. 16-0. Looks like he might have abandoned. I can't walk out on the game because I would lose. I can't resign. So we have to sit it out, I'm afraid. So let's look at this position. Right? Now, getting the king safe is always going to be a priority. Okay? This is my opponent's game well, it's my game to lose, right? This game is almost won as it is, right? When you've got strong players involved, a full piece should be decisive, should be. So I can only really lose this game. That's it. That's the only alternative option. So what I need to do is just clamp it down, lock this place down, right? So I definitely want to get the king safe. Unless there's an immediate kind of winning opportunity, unless I get to checkmate my opponent. So I do want a castle. I notice the e file is completely open, so I want to get a rook on there, or rook and queen. I've already got a queen on there. Looks like he's bailed, unfortunately, opponent. Probably come after this pawn. So what are the most likely moves? Well, I think bishop e7 is likely. If queen e7, I will just immediately trade off and then get my king castled, get my rook onto e1, crack on. Bishop e7, I might even play my bishop out here, threatening to take the knight, and bishop couldn't take immediately if the king's still there, because bishop would be pinned. But if bishop e7, I pin the knight, castles, the knight is no longer pinned, but I might just trade off anyway for the hell of it, and then castle my own king. Yeah, it looks like he's left the building, unfortunately. It's still a useful first few moves, I would say. Might even have the option of taking this position and finishing off against the machine. That'd be interesting. And that's all the dogs getting up. See, I'm really following my own advice here by not... I know, technically it's a rated game, but playing somebody 600 points, 1,000 points lower rated is not... I didn't really feel like I was taking a massive risk there. It's either that or playing a bot or something like that. No, it looks like he's gone. Looks like he has gone. So, but let's, it doesn't matter. You can still plan your next move. You can plan your next ideas. It's always good to have a plan, even if it's a crap plan. Have one. If bishop blocks, bishop out here, forcing a trade of something, because I'm now in line with three other pieces, so I'm going to get something for my trouble. Castles is not a bad move at all. However, bishop blocks castles, I'm giving away a pawn. So even a move like this is even possible. So bishop blocks queen there. Kind of attacking this pawn. See the difference between like queen e5 and queen d3. Queen d3 still allows them to capture the pawn. Queen e5 both defends the d5 pawn and attacks their d4 pawn. But the knight can still capture the pawn because it's still defended by the queen. But then I can capture this pawn. But that is also the case with d3. Knight takes, queen takes. But if queen d3, queen takes, then I still have two attackers on there. So actually queen d3 is perfectly alright. There's no real benefit between queen d3 and queen e5. And you only find that out if you follow through the thought process. Simples. Yeah, looks like he's gone for a Burton. This one. There's queen b5 check is a thought. Let's say bishop blocks here, queen b5 check. Pawn takes, pawn takes, pawn takes, queen takes, check. Oh, he's woken up. Wow. Okay, let's finish this line of thought. The pawn can't take back because queen takes, again with check. And then you can block, right? But queen d3 is playable, not the most aggressive move. I kind of like this one. With this one, knight takes, we lose the pawn. We do lose the pawn. So why don't we prepare to capture this? But let's play that queen d3 move. Whether queen takes pawn or knight takes pawn doesn't matter, I can take. Okay, he castles, I'm inclined to castle, but there is a free pawn. Free pawn here. That also means that now that pawn's gone from there, it's no longer attacking c3, which allows my knight to come to c3, which defends d5. My queen is also defended by my own knight. And again, the same blunder. Right? Opponent has now moved a piece onto a square where it is attacked and undefended. That is just hung his own piece. Okay. Now this might come, but I have bishop blocks. Defended my pawn. This is okay. He has two attackers on here. But I'm quite happy here. I want to bring my knight out. I want to bring my rook to d1. And there we go. Game over. So interesting stuff. You can see the big difference. Let's look at the game review, right? Apologies if the dog's in. What do you want? Come here then. Come here. Let's speak to the boys and girls. Right, this is one of Morgan's little ones. It's a black cats are not known to be very photogenic, but we have 5 of these. And a white one with a little stripe on his head. Okay, 2 blunders from me. Let's find out what this is, okay? The because that is very interesting. Okay, right, so this is all book Scotch Gambit. That is a mistake. We knew this. Okay, it says pawn takes was better. I chose bishop takes for good reason. And that is apparently a blunder. You're going to end up losing a bishop after all the trades are done. Well, show me. Ah, my bishop's trapped. Yeah, my bishop's trapped. There you go. And that, boys and girls, is why I'm not playing for points today. Okay, interesting. Right, so anyway, I did this, trapping my own bishop, removing my own bishop's escape square, but my opponent was not sharp enough to spot the piece was trapped. I would have ended up probably capturing on f7, king takes, and playing on from there. Okay. Yeah, so he traded instead of going the cheaper route, which was to go for the trap, and now queen e2, another blunder. Okay, it said just grab the free stuff. Don't know why I didn't, to be honest. Don't know why I didn't. But there we go, blunder. Okay, and here it says castle. And that's okay, still castle. And blunder again, end of the game. So, yeah, not terribly glowing report from the engine there. But yeah, I mean, this is the thing. I mean, if nothing else, those two blunders, completely unforced from my opponent there, right? Completely unforced. And, you know, that is really what makes the big difference around this, 500 rating mark. So what do you do before you make a move like that? Okay, so before you play this, you're thinking, okay, I'm considering bishop here, okay? And look at that square, just look at it, right? If I put my bishop there, what can my opponent do? Is there anything attacking that square? Well, yes, there is, right? Even before you do it, do hover, okay? Hover, is there anything that can happen? Take 5-10 seconds if you need to, right? This is called the sanity check, just do it. Okay, there, well, pawn can take the bishop and, oh, best not, right? And I cannot stress enough the value and the improvement that you will find in your game of rewinding ideas, right? You look at an idea, you go, oh no, not that, right? I need to find something else. Let's draw a line under that one and move on, okay? But here again, right? What's the point in that? What is the thinking? I don't know. He's thinking maybe I want to, give check on the open file. Well, I want to attack the queen. What's the worst that can happen? Pick up the bishop, move it. Now you can't do this over the board. Okay, queen takes bishop. I give check. King moves. Oh, I've just lost a piece. Rewind. Think again. So there you go. So yeah, not a perfect game from my point of view, but all made sense. It's hard when you're playing somebody who's a lot lower rated than you are to play your best. I really don't understand why, but it just does. That's the way it tends to happen. But there you go. Hope it's been useful for a few of you guys out there, particularly at the sub 1000 level. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you all soon.